What's up, everybody? Big Herc, fresh out, Life After Penitentiary, live with another edition of Prison Talk Live Stream. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you got to, enjoy some beautiful weather like we did in Southern California. And, if you're rooting for Golden State in the finals, what up to the Bay Area, the Yay area, Golden State representing. Want to send shout out to all of the fans who have been tuning in and supporting Fresh Out, Life After Penitentiary, and everybody who subscribed. And if you haven't subscribed and you just watch the shows, go ahead and subscribe, man, so that way you can stay up to date on all the videos and all the stuff we have going on. We have a lot going on. If you have any questions you want to email us, feel free to email us at freshoutseries@gmail.com, and also check out our website, which is www.freshoutseries.com. We have a lot of great stuff on the website, a lot of information. We have stuff about, contact if you need to, holler at us on a consulting level if you're going to the pen, or if you're looking at going to the pen, you know what I'm saying? It's always good to know than to not know. And we got some cool apparel on there, and, it's just a lot of informative stuff on the website, so check us out. Want to say shout out to everybody who's tuned in to our Instagram, which is Fresh Out Series, our Twitter, which is Fresh Out Series, SoundCloud, which is also Fresh Out Series, and those who have actually subscribed to Patreon, patreon.com. Chef V's doing his thing. I talked to him over the weekend. He's going to come back, do some more prison spreads jumping off here real soon. So we're going to have some fresh prison spreads for you guys. I know you guys like those top ramen dishes with the chips and all that shit, so we're going to keep bringing it to you, you know what I'm saying? That old, munchy food that you like to call it. And, just keep it real. We got the realest shit on YouTube. We try to keep it raw with you guys, try to bring topics that are interesting and that are basically in the news. So today we're going to talk about some dudes who helped cover up for the chomo, Jerry Sandusky. And for those who don't know, he was the guy who was a defensive coordinator. He worked at Penn State, and he was touching on little boys. You know what I mean? He was a cold piece of shit. These kids who were in these impoverished neighborhoods, he was basically using them and taking advantage of an opportunity that these kids were looking to get out the neighborhood. And a lot of people knew about his abuse, but they ignored it. There have been numerous reports about Sandusky touching on kids, child abuse, inappropriate behavior, but nobody said shit. And so now the former school president, Graham Spanier, he got 2 months in jail, followed by 2 months of house arrest. The former vice president, Gary Schultz, he just got 2 months in jail and also 4 months of house arrest. And the former athletic director, he got 3 months in jail and at least 2 months of house arrest. Each man will also pay fines and owe $200 in community service. So for these guys who were pure capitalists who ignored the cries of kids, victims, people who were being taken advantage of, for the sake of winning, for the sake of just money, monetary gain. How do you guys feel about this, man? How do you feel about people who basically did nothing to stop the madness that Jerry Sandusky was conducting while at the school employed under their supervision? I mean, if somebody told me that a person I knew was doing some shit like this, I would have to split their wig. You know what I'm saying? I would have to go and do my homework. But once I found out that the shit was remotely the truth, you're getting your wig split, man. That's touching on kids is a fucking no-no, man. And, it's sad when you see that these guys who were in a position to stop this, I mean, the traumatization that took place over years. Even his wife knew, Sandusky's wife knew that he was bringing these kids down to the basement and they were doing shit they shouldn't be doing, and she did nothing to stop it. But for people to be around him and basically not do something, I think it's completely wrong. You know, if you know about a chomo in prison, or if somebody is a chomo and you're socializing with that person in prison, and you don't split their wig, or if they find out that you're basically, you know, accepting that behavior, you're going to get your wig split too. You know what I'm saying? Both you guys are going to get your fucking wig split, because there's no getting around. If you're fucking with underage kids, you get no pass. You know what I mean? There's nothing that can save your ass from getting your cheeks busted and your motherfucking wig split. You know, it's a sick situation. You know what I mean? It's, you know, you can try to justify it all you want, but you know when you're doing something like that, that's completely out of pocket. You know, you know, there's no confusion there. You know, Sandusky and his crew that were generating millions of dollars in advertising dollars for the Penn State University. You know, and these guys were there and they heard stuff, they heard rumors, but they did nothing to investigate it. It's a fucked up situation, man. You know what I mean? And you know, and stuff like this goes on all the time, and people do little to stop it. And I think it's society's, you know, duty to step into situations like this when a kid can't defend himself. I mean, the innocence of a child is lost, man, when you violate them like this, man, and it just fucks their life up. So I think all three of these guys, and you know, if you guys are with me, you know, give a yay, need their cheeks busted. You know what I'm saying? They need to have their cheeks busted, because they're just as bad for not doing anything to stop the situation. So I think it's a fucked up all the way around the board. But you know, 2 months in jail, 4 months in jail. I mean, fuck, man. You know, what is that? You know, compared to a lifetime of mental, traumatization for a child who was just trying to maybe play a sport to get out of the neighborhood or to help their families, you know what I mean? And they basically were taken advantage of by these fucking predators, man. You know, so it's just fucked up. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, talk about it, you know, today a little bit, you know, these fucking chomos. And like I said, these guys directly weren't involved, but they were involved because they heard about it and they did nothing to stop it. So, yay, busting cheeks. Yay, getting your wig split. You know what I mean? You know, it is what it is, man. These motherfuckers, they get no passes by me. You know what I'm saying? If I know a motherfucking neighbor is doing some shit and I hear about it, I'm going to bust his motherfucking wig. You know, I'm going to split his wig. And you know what I'm saying? Somebody's going to fucking bust some cheeks. So that's what's up, man. But you guys, you know, I enjoy you guys giving us the feedback and participating in the comments. So, you know, go ahead and tune in into your comments. I'll do the shout outs at the end. I'll do the shout outs around 3:25, you know what I mean? But in the meantime, if you guys got any questions, you know, hit me up. Let me see what you guys got cracking as far as questions, man. Somebody said they sent the instant message earlier. If you have it, the instant message again, you go ahead and send it. This is on Facebook. But yeah, so let me see. In prison, if you bust these pussy cheeks, I don't know what that means. Somebody says, how many calories do you take in a day? What are the main food groups? Oh, somebody had a workout question. Shit. Calories in a day, probably about 4,000. As far as food, I just avoid all the fried shit. You know what I'm saying? No fried foods. I try to eat as little as possible. A lot of processed, no sugars. You know, unless it's coming from fruit, no soda pop, none of that bullshit. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, that's what's up with that. Somebody said, have you, Big Herc, have you ever pitched the Fresh Out series to a network like Viceland? Not yet. We're in the process right now, putting together some episodes. So we're actually going to be, you know, putting together some really sick, some really dope videos that are going to be TV ready. And when we get ready, you know, our goal is to basically launch this show by next year on a network. So we'll be doing it big, like, cops and shit like that. So just be on the lookout for the show. But in the meantime, we'll keep it going on YouTube, keep providing you guys with content and, just fresh material, man. Just keep supporting and, pushing the like and getting it rolling. And like I said, tell your friends and family about this network, man, this channel, because we like the feedback. Somebody said, what are my thoughts on clemency reviews? Fuck, man. I know guys doing a lot of fucking time for drugs. And like I said, you got child molesters and murderers getting out. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it's fucked up because a lot of the guys who are locked up for drugs are minorities, Latinos and, Hispanics, blacks. A lot of them are just locked up for just crazy amounts of time. And the main reason they're doing that is because just they know who it affects a certain part of the community and a certain demographic. And so the time they're giving these guys it's just ridiculous, man. And they're making money off of it. They're housing these guys, they're taking away from their families. And not to say I'm justifying a guy selling dope, you know what I mean? But fuck, man, what about these big corporations that are selling dope and getting people hooked on all these fucking pills? You know what I mean? You got people doing more prescription drugs than street drugs. So the difference is they're doing it through the FDA and these guys are slinging it on the street. So, hey, man, it's fucked up. Somebody says, what do whites get locked up for? Yeah, the white guy that ran across in the pen, that was in the feds, bank robbery, money laundering, embezzlement, drugs. My mentor, he was an ex-Vietnam vet, white guy, very smart. He was making synthetic heroin. So he was balling off of that. But they gave him, he was probably 60-something years old when I met him. And they gave him 30 years. He was going to die in prison. And the sad thing is he was a heroin addict and he actually died from a heroin overdose in prison. And he was a good dude, man. And I'm not trying to, make it seem like, because there's white or black. I got my stepdad's white. I don't have any issues as far as when it comes to race. I'm just pointing out an obvious with the drug laws and how they affect a certain demographic. But, I had a great mentor who was a white guy in prison. And like I said, they gave him 30 years, shot his truck up. And the cool thing about it, this guy's daughter worked for the Federal Reserve. I mean, he's very smart and he was very articulate. He taught me a lot about the law. So, it's just sad. The dude died in prison from heroin. Somebody said, what are the respected crimes amongst inmates and crimes that are not to be in jail for? Obviously, chomo's the first, but which one beside that? Well, like I said, I did time primarily in the feds. The state is different. The state, you'll have purse snatchers. You'll have people, petty theft, armed robbery, which can be 7-Eleven, a fucking jewelry store. It could be rape, beating up old people. It's a totally different ball game in the state than the feds. So you got some guys in there who just, bro, they're sick. I mean, motherfuckers who done chopped up motherfuckers and just, left them put them in a bag and just fucking left them for dead. I mean, you got a different mentality. So as far as in the feds, the hierarchy, I mean, you got drug dealers. People in the feds are looking to surround themselves or basically learn about making money. So you got a lot of guys in prison who are very well educated, and a lot of times guys teach classes, and those are the guys who are looked up to. The guys who are involved in real estate, maybe big business, corporations, setting up corporations, things of that nature, and then it goes down as far as like the guys who are selling drugs, because most people who are selling drugs, a lot of times they want to transition that drug money into something else, so they're not trying to get out and sell drugs again. But then again, guys get connections in there, they get out and they start balling. But like I said, on the low level, I would say chomos is the piece of shit. Raping women, piece of shit. Beating up on old people, piece of shit. Kiddie porn, you get your wig split, piece of shit. Shit like that, man. Somebody said, how are guys convicted of terrorism treated? Well, there were some guys at Sheridan when I was there. that were involved in 9/11. And the warden, I don't know to what extent, and I don't really know, I never really basically paid attention to the individuals per se, but the warden held a townhouse meeting, and he said if anybody did anything to these guys, they were going to be sent to the hole. They'd be basically put on diesel therapy, blah, 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 blah. So the warden actually protected these motherfuckers, you know what I mean? He made sure that they weren't violated in any way. And people who, if anybody did anything to them, they were going to get dealt with. So that's my experience as far as these particular individuals who were at the institution I was at, were getting sent there as far as being terrorists. You know, somebody said, did I ever split a molester's wig? Never had the opportunity, but I would. You know what I mean? I'll split the wig of a motherfucker who touched on a little kid because that motherfucker's a piece of shit. You know, so somebody said, does bank robbery be respected? No. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, right? When I got to prison, because of the way I carry myself and the way I talk, and I told people I was in there for bank robbery, a lot of people assumed I had used a note. And believe it or not, a lot of guys use notes to rob banks. They'll go in there, they'll give a teller a note, the teller read the note, and they're instructed just to give the money to the bank robber, and the bank robber leave. You know what I mean? And that's a lot of times, there's a lot of guys do bank robberies like that, but I used a gun. And so rather than a lot of guys assuming because of the way I carry myself that, oh, this guy, you know, he's articulate, he used a note, he wasn't, you know, on some gangster shit. When they found out I used a gun, it kind of put me in a different category. And then when they found out I was doing porn, they were like, put me in a whole nother category. So, you know, you were considered like more respected because of that. So it's weird, you know what I'm saying? Prison is all about if you are a tough motherfucker on the street, but you carry yourself well, you respect others, and you don't have to run around bragging about it. I didn't tell nobody I was in porn. Somebody found out by looking at a magazine, you know, and that's how that came about. But yeah, respect's a big thing in prison. Somebody says, how much for an 8-ball of meth in prison? You know what I'm saying? I don't really know. I never really dealt with drugs in prison per se because I don't want to get caught up. And, you know, once you get involved in that whole thing, you could be under investigation for months and, you know, doing whole time and shit like that. But you imagine, just hypothetically speaking, if an 8-ball on the street is, I don't know what an 8-ball is running, but let's just say if it was $200 in prison, it'd probably be double that. And so, you know, these motherfuckers are cutting the shit out of drugs in prison, and they're making a lot of money because motherfuckers is fiending up in there. And if they're doing this time and they're stressed the fuck out, they'll pay the price. They don't give a fuck, you know. So drugs is big business. Somebody said, did anybody ever fuck with the warden? No, the warden usually has like 2 or 3 guards flanking him at all times. And the warden we had at Sheridan, he was a piece of shit. The second warden, the first warden there was cool. He used to let us throw concerts and shit like that. But the second warden was a piece of shit. So he was always a scary motherfucker. So he always had guards around him because he felt they made him feel like a bigger man to have these guards like standing around him like he was a fucking, you know, like he was some type of mob guy or something. But he was a piece of shit. But somebody says, buddy, anyone who gets to the joint, you know a chomo is in, you can get your hands on them. Is it mate code to smash him or else just as bad as he is right? No. If say for instance, somebody's a chomo, but he didn't tell you, but you happen to see some paperwork that verifies that he is a chomo, it's your duty to either smash him out if it's of the same race or your car, which means the group of people you're affiliated with, or it's your duty to tell the shot color of the other race who this person is so that they can smash him and get him off the yard. So, you know, and the thing is, you know, if you don't say nothing, then they're going to come to you like, hey, man, you were hanging out with this motherfucker. You mean to tell me you didn't know he was a chomo? So that will get your wig split. And yeah, you know, that's part of prison. It just, you can't, on certain things, you can't remain silent. And being a chomo is one of them. You know, if you know about a motherfucker being a chomo. So that's what's up. Somebody says, how can I talk privately? I need help. Hey, shoot us an email at freshoutseries@gmail.com if you want to holler on the private tip. You know, somebody says, your cellmate is gay. Will others see? Somebody says, Big Herc, what do you do when your cellmate's gay? Will others see you as a homo if you talk to him? How to avoid watching eyes? If you know your celly's gay and you're not gay, you got to get the fuck up out of there. Yeah, that's plain and simple. Because motherfuckers will start gossiping and you will become suspect for the Peter liquor. Meaning that you enjoy having this motherfucker look at your Peter or touch on your Peter. So your best bet is, as soon as you find out he's gay, is to get the fuck up out the cell or make him get the fuck up out of there, because you don't want to be doing time with a motherfucker who has the potential to go and suck on your Peter at night when you're passed out, and it cause a problem with all the other inmates or how you're looked at in prison. So I would say, hey man, you know, stay the fuck away from somebody that's gay. You can respect that and let them do their thing in there. And I'm not hating on gays, but hey, don't let a motherfucker stay in a cell with you if he's a known Peter liquor. Get out of cell if they won't let you switch. Somebody said, how do you get out of cell if you won't let you switch? Bust them upside the head. You know what I'm saying? Make up something. You gotta, you know, a lot of times they'll put you in rooms with motherfuckers to see if shit'll kick off, and they'll be a dickhead. But, you know, you could also create a situation and just fucking go to the hole. You know what I mean? It's better than remaining in a cell with a motherfucking homosexual, because you don't want that. You don't want that. You don't want that typecast, man. You don't want that on you. You know what I mean? Do you fight somebody initially hit on by you, a gay person in prison? If somebody, okay, there's a point you don't cross. If somebody makes a comment nonchalantly, you check them right then. But if a motherfucker like slaps you on the ass, pops you with a towel while you're walking with, you know what I'm saying, to the shower, or whistles at you, you gotta go split their motherfucking wig. That's some gay shit. If a motherfucker's whistling at you, that means that they're saying you're on some bitch time, and other motherfuckers are saying, oh, he's accepting the bitch time, which means you gotta show them you ain't no bitch. So the motherfucker whistling, I don't give a fuck who he is. You gotta go split his motherfucking wig. You know what I mean? Bust him upside the head like, motherfucker, don't play me like that. Because motherfuckers will try your ass if they think you can get away with it. So don't go for that shit. Somebody says, have you ever seen a prison riot? Yeah, I seen the motherfucking the Serranos get down with the cats from DC up in there, and the whole yard was shut down. And I seen where the North Daniels and Serranos got into it at another institution I was at, and it shut down. We was on lockdown for probably over a month. So yeah, I've seen a couple of riots. And the first institution I was at, which was a holding facility in San Bernardino, they refused to lock it. We refused to lock it down, and everybody had to come out and participate. And basically, we didn't lock it down, and motherfuckers was throwing shit, and they came in the goon squad, and we finally did lock it down. And they fucking didn't feed us for probably about 24 hours, and we stayed locked down for about 3 to 4 weeks. So I've been in like 3 instances where, you know, the institution was locked down. Somebody says, why do you think majority of people find Jesus or Allah in prison? Prison has a way of making you really look at things from a more religious or spiritual aspect than you would on the street. On the street, you're having a human experience. When you get to prison, things become non-human, you know, meaning that non-human, that you're almost in like a slave master type situation, and you're disempowered to the point where you feel like you have no you're helpless in a lot of situations. So people look for God in different ways, whether it be Allah, whether it be Buddha, whether it be, you know, Jesus. They get spiritual, which isn't a bad thing because it helps people find themselves, and whatever makes somebody more of a functional human being, more power to them. But prison does, have a way of making you really look at life differently, and you don't take it for granted like you did on the street. So it's totally, it's one of the big things in prison is a lot of the religious stuff that takes place. And for those who didn't know, I mentioned earlier that I seen a riot where Serranos and the D.C. boys got into it. D.C. is District of Columbia. So in the United States, that would be Washington, D.C. And any crime committed in D.C. is a federal crime because that's a federal district. So everything within that radius is considered a federal crime. So they have a lot of people going to the feds for things that would normally be state. So somebody says, can an inmate receive a college education and earn a degree behind bars? Yes. At some institutions, a lot of the local colleges provide correspondence courses that you can take. So while you're in there, you could be taking correspondence courses, and if you have the time, you could work your way up from an AA to a BA, possibly depending on what courses are offered. There's a lot of inmates that were doing that, and so education is available. And some of I would think the lower institutions have more programs like this, as opposed to the USPs, which are the United States Penitentiaries. Somebody says, what is my experience with drive-bys? My experience with drive-bys, I've been shot at twice in drive-bys. Actually, one was a standby. Dude pulled a Uzi on me, you know what I mean? I was probably about 15, 20 feet away from him. He shot it. Luckily, I hit the ground, and he hit somebody behind me. He jumped in his car and got in a high-speed chase and, got cracked. But, I mean, that was one of the instances. And in another instance, I was at a mall at a particular cruise, and somebody drove by, and they shot at us. I don't know what kind of gun it was, but it was some little pistol, and everybody we just ducked behind a bush. But those are my two experiences with drive-bys that I can recall. I think there was another instance, but it was we were at a park hustling, and somebody came by and let out a few blasts. You know what I mean? But I've had a couple of different experiences. Somebody says, do I miss the porn industry? I had a great time in the porn industry, man. No complaints. I tried it when I got out. It had changed a lot from 2000 to 2008. And, I did a couple scenes when I got out, had to pay some bills, but it wasn't the same. You know what I mean? It was it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same feeling I had that I thought I was going to have when I went in. So, and the money, it had kind of changed. You have to work your way up to getting a certain amount of pay. And the mindset, I ain't gonna, you get out, you haven't had sex in years, and you try to go straight to a porn set, and you got these big booties, these big titties looking at you, and you're trying to focus, and you haven't had pussy in a long time, you get a little intimidated, man. So you gotta, it's a different groove getting fresh out and jumping back into the industry. And even right now, the industry has changed so much, I'm really not, it doesn't really tickle my fancy to jump back into it, even though, it was great while I was in it. And somebody said right here, oh, Jhansi tried to make a comment about her came out half-ass gay. Well, I think, Jhansi, you must have had your cheeks busted because you sound like a straight, you sound like one of those old motherfuckers who like, what do you call it, the starfish. The old starfish, man. You like motherfuckers putting shit in your butt, Jhansi. So for you and your comment, go get that big dildo you got in your closet, man, and sit on top of that thing and tell me how it feels. Big Hurt, let me see. Oh, you do that, but you sound like you did life, man. Somebody said slow my roll. So, I got some of these comments. Hurt, you did 7 years. I did 8 years, 8 months. You sound like you did life. But I never said I sound like I did life. You can interpret it as that. You know what I mean? So sitting 8 years in the toilet, you think doing time is fun, nigga? You go do 8 years. Any amount of time you spend in prison is a lifetime, motherfucker. So for you to sit here and say, oh, you doing this 7 years, he's like a lifetime, nigga, go sit up in there for about 8 years and see how you like it. You think it's hard, nigga, sitting in prison? Ain't nothing hard about sitting around a bunch of men, and I don't brag about it. I try to lace your dumb motherfucking ass so you don't go up in there. But if you think it's cool, roll up in there, motherfucker. More power to you. You can beat a man up in there thinking you did more time than me, so you're harder. I didn't want to do any time. Fuck prison. You know what I'm saying? Somebody says, fight someone to spot to avoid trouble. Somebody said, do you wait or fight someone on the spot to avoid trouble? To avoid trouble, basically, man, you just keep to yourself. And if you keep to yourself and mind your own business and somebody's still talking shit, you know, sometimes you just got to lay a motherfucker out, catch him slipping and bust him upside the head and put hands on him. That person will go to the hole. You'll go to the hole. You might lose some good time, but at least you got it off your chest. You don't want to have to ever walk around in fear. You know what I mean? You don't ever want to have to walk around and feel that you got to watch your back. That's a fucked up feeling, you know? So in life, man, if a motherfucker is pressuring you or you feel like it's just an uncomfortable situation, man, check that motherfucker and get it out the way, man. It ain't worth it to feel uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Somebody says, and like somebody said right here, take them to the cell and fight. Yeah, you know, call them out in the cell. You can go to the cell. They got, cells and say, hey, man, let's go up in here and get down. They don't go up in there, they're considered a punk. They go up in there with you, put them hands on them. Choke a motherfucker out. You walk out of there, you leave, walking out, he's up in there still fucked up. Hey, man, motherfuckers know you're about your business. But don't ever let nobody punk you in life, man. I ain't never let nobody fucking punk me, you know what I'm saying? If you got to catch a fade, you got to catch a fade. You know what I mean? So that's what's happening, man. But, yeah, you guys, I want to go ahead and get the shout-outs in. So if you got some shout-outs, you know what I'm saying, go ahead and, start throwing them out there, and I'll give you guys a shout-out. And excuse me for going off on a tangent on the troll. Some of these motherfuckers just, they get me, they just kind of like, they irritate me, man, because when you talk about prison, and it's like, if you got to talk about how hard I did this, man, ain't nothing cool about being a hard motherfucker from prison. Be one of these fucking nerds getting money, man. Be a motherfucker that's smart, educated, that's taking care of their family. Fuck prison, man. Ain't nothing cool. I used to think, oh, man, I used to see the OGs, 21-inch arms, swole, walking around the hood. Oh, man, I thought it was like a rite of passage. I was going to have to go to jail, and I created it in my mind. I was a fucking dumbass. I didn't realize I didn't find shit up in there. Prison was some shit. Fuck prison, man. Shout out to Australia. Shout out to North Highlands. Shout out to Cleveland, Ohio. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Stockton at 209. Shout out to Tajikistan. Shout out to Beemore. Shout out to England. Shout out to Koreatown, Azerbaijan. I hope I probably fucked that up. Shout out to San Bernardino. Shout out to Arizona, Gilbert. Shout out to Rings, France. Shout out to Fullerton, the 623, Ottawa, Canada, Detroit, Minneapolis. Shout out to Antarctica, Long Beach, Toronto, Fort Worth, Texas, Haiti, South Carolina, Latvia, Mexico, Las Vegas, or Portland, Oregon, Detroit, 313. Shout out to Chirac. Shout out to Collinsville. Shout out to Guam, Sacktown, Chicago, Hayward, Germany, 530, Toronto, Kentucky, Nambia, Collinsville, Baton Rouge, and Fort Myers, East LA. Shout out to Washington State. If you're a Cleveland fan, man, y'all better try to win one because Golden State's putting a smash down. But, I like to see great talent watching the finals. Hope you guys enjoying the finals. Hope you guys we got some basketball fans out there. Shout out to Arkansas. Shout out to Montreal. Toronto, of course. Hey, man, you guys have been great. Thank you for tuning in. If you guys got some topics you want to share with us, email us at freshouseries@gmail.com. Shout out to Inglewood. Shout out to Brooklyn, New York. And you know what, man? When people be telling you, when you hear these rappers or these motherfuckers on the internet talking about, yeah, cuz, whoop, whoop, wop, or yeah, blood, or whoop-de-wop, man, a real G, like the homeboy gangster would tell you, man, he was bamboozled. This whole I bought into all this gangster shit, man, and it took me down a fucking dark path, and I hurt my family. I fucking missed out on a lot of life. It was just a bunch of shit, man. You know, I realized going in there, it didn't matter how hard you are. There's always a motherfucker who's hard, and a lot of them motherfuckers ain't going nowhere in life. So fuck being hard, man. Be about you. Be a person who's positive, who's doing something in life, being successful, man, who's going places. You know, that's what life's about. You know, the motherfucker talking about, oh, he did 8 years. Nigga, fuck 8 years. I wish I didn't do shit. You know, I spent over a decade of my life combining CYA and juvenile hall. And it was horrible. Wasn't nothing to brag about. And ain't no fucking stripe. Ain't all this old shit. You know, that's some dumb shit. You sell these youngsters bullshit when you tell them that you get stripes and you're a G if you shoot somebody. Because you're sitting there in prison doing 30 years. You ain't got no motherfucking visits. All that shit is some bullshit, and you're up in there lonely, motherfucking beating your meat. You would have wished you would have listened to Big Hurt on motherfucking Prison Talk Live, because I keep it real. Shout out to Santa Cruz, 876-813-916. All you guys have been supporting, you know what I mean? Hey, man, Joe Rogan, if you're listening, you know, put us on the show, man. We love your show. We're trying to get on, and we bring some real shit, not this bullshit, and we're not fucking promoting negativity. We're promoting positive. And all y'all out there, have a great week. You know, keep it positive. Avoid the haters and shake the motherfucking trolls, man, because they're pieces of shit. 713-832-281-602. All y'all, man, much love. Get money, love life, and be happy, man. That's all I can say. I'm out. This is Big Hurt live stream. Tune in next Monday for the next live stream, and I'll holla.